Welcome back, everyone. What am I up to today? Well, as you can tell, I got tomatoes. Why you got tomatoes? Botanicals. Yeah, I'm not doing vegetables per se, but being a farmer in the past, I still have my soft spots. And cherry tomatoes, especially the red and the yellow ones, they're just so delicious. So I'm gonna try something cool. What I'm doing is I'm mixing a red and a yellow one in a 12-inch patio pot for you. So how do I do it? I fill it up with soil. I'm adding some triple 14 slow release fertilizer that I'll mix in that will really help your tomatoes thrive and should you miss a fertilizing or just not be able to do it. So what I do is I'll fill the pot up and now about 3/4 and now I'm gonna plant them. So some pretty cool things about tomatoes. We pop these out. If you can zoom in here, that is perfect timing. You see how the roots, they've kind of filled out the pot, which is nice. The soil's holding together, but the roots really haven't started to circle around and become root bound. They're actually very loose, which means they're gonna take off right away in this. So food for thought when you're at a place, you can always kind of look at the container, pop it out, and or if you have some at your home, that's optimal. You also notice on tomatoes, if you look at the bottom here, zoom in, you see all those fuzzy hairs? Well, pretty cool thing is that being above ground, they're hairs. But what happens is if you were to plant this a little bit deeper, say up until these first cotyledon leaves, those hairs, once they're in the soil, become roots. So they can actually help your plant and stabilize it. Now, a lot of people say plant your tomatoes super deep. I don't really buy that. I've done so many experiments with carving it for root growth, planting them halfway deep for root growth. It doesn't kill the plant, but there's really no benefit per se. The only time I would really recommend that is if someone or yourself messed up in the growing pot, on the growing phase, and they became leggy and long and stretchy where they're just gonna snap in the wind, then you can plant them deeper or even horizontal. Because basically, I mean, if you look at this tomato, let's zoom in again, you can even see hairs way up here, way up top. So, I mean, you could bury this plant deep, but a lot of that is just kind of what we call bro science. Like, there's really no scientific backing. I've tried it. I've been growing thousands of tomatoes for years. I've tried burying them deeper, all that stuff. There's more important things to how a tomato will grow. Environmental conditions, watering, disease, pest control. Those are all way more important. So what I'm gonna do is, as you can see, this is a nice thick stem. Just like I know what I'm doing. So I don't have to plant this any deeper. I'm just gonna plant it up to that was about first cotyledons where I showed you, so that bottom layer of root hairs can become roots. And what they'll do is they'll come out. These roots, see how this is a little wobbly? Well, by burying it up to here, these roots will then start to spread across the surface and really anchor down the plant. So I got this one, and I'll do one on one side, one on the other. Another cool trick, see where the leaf meets the stem? You see a little growth point right down here. That would actually be another full tomato if you just let it go. Basically, everywhere there's a leaf and the stem, right? See this? See this? A wise woman once coined this the armpit. So that's what I call it now. And every armpit, you'll have a new growth point. So if I just let this tomato go, it would be all bushy, and which is fine, but then you can run into disease because it's not airy, the moisture gets trapped in there, and then the plant is so busy growing vegetative, it doesn't really produce as many cherry tomatoes. So what I like to do with these is just snap them off early on. Once this tomato is established and 18 inches tall or so, you can start to let one or two grow if you want to get 3-4 liters going on this. But for the most part, keep it one or two, and you're gonna have excellent cherry tomato production. Just pick those off. This one will get buried. I'm going right at about the soil line. just like that. I'll put some stakes in as they get bigger. They'll be tied to them, and you'll have a red and yellow cherry tomato plant. They can survive in this size pot. You'll have to water it every day. So my recommendation is when you do get it home, eventually put it into a larger pot or in the ground, just so the roots can keep growing, the tomato can get bigger, and you won't have to worry about water control too much. So that's pretty cool. Excited about these. These are gonna start taking off. So one more thing, fertilizer. A lot of people are so antsy to just fertilize your seedlings. Let me tell you something. Seedlings, for the most part, don't need fertilizer. There's enough energy in that seed pod and in the soil to get that plant pretty big. Look at the size of these tomatoes, right? I'll pull this one back out so you can see. I haven't fertilized this once, okay? So I'll start now with the slow release, but I hadn't fertilized that up until this point that I'm putting in the pot. So don't be so quick to jump. A lot of times you can kill your seedlings with that fertilizer. So thanks for tuning in. Hope I didn't bore you today. And can't wait. Got so much to do. Keep checking in. I'm going to show you every time I do something, give you some helpful tips along the way. So we'll see you next time.